Welcome, 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 teacher friends, to today's video on enhancing differentiated instruction strategies for English language learners. Wow, that's a mouthful. Anyways, or ELL students as otherwise known. Let's dive into effective ways to tailor our teaching and make a positive impact. So just before we get started, I'm going to say that I did, in addition to my ed degree and my special education diploma, I did do a diploma in teaching English as a second language to students. We were looking at traveling to China and I felt that would be useful. We did go to China and it has been useful. The biggest thing I got out of the course, and there was a lot of learning. We did lots of practice activities and we made presentations and all the usual things. But the number one thing that I got out of the course was the importance of giving students for whom English is not their first language lots of opportunities to interact with their peers, not the teacher, but the peers in the language that they wanted to learn. So having said that is the biggest thing. Of course, it's also about differentiating content, which we're all doing all the time anyways, but let's focus on really digging that into it with the eye on the ELL students specifically. So let's start with, okay, there are 4 principles to differentiation: content, process, product, and learning environment. So let's start with content differentiation. This involves customizing what students learn based on their needs. For example, providing ELL students with simplified texts, versions, or bilingual resources can help them access the core material without feeling overwhelmed. Now, you may have a student who's a very strong reader in their first language, but they may need much more simplified texts in a second language. And the challenge can be keeping them engaged with a simpler material, but typically if they're just learning to read or just learning to understand the language, the language is going to provide significant challenge to prevent the boredom. The next of the core principles of differentiation is process. And this focuses on how students make sense of the ideas that they're being taught. So consider utilizing graphic organizers like Venn diagrams or mind maps. I've used them a little bit with younger students, but I tend to think of those as more older students. But it doesn't hurt to expose younger students to them. But definitely you're going to incorporate things like a beginning, middle, and end for writing stories, or T-charts for comparisons. These things are very valuable and can help ELL students organize their thoughts and understand the connections more clearly. And in truth, they're great for all your students. So with product differentiation, students express what they've learned in various forms. And allowing ELL students to choose between written reports, oral presentations, or even visual projects, this gives them a chance to engage in a way that's most comfortable for them and really gives them a chance to demonstrate what they may have learned, especially if it's content area like science or social studies, because they may have been able to learn a lot that they can't express through language. And it's really important that they have the opportunity to do that, or they may choose to make an oral presentation because they want to practice presenting in the language. So, and again, giving our students choices as to how to present their learning is really a great part of differentiation for everybody. So it's not something you're doing just for your ELL student or students. And of course, the learning environment plays a huge role. Creating a welcome and culturally inclusive classroom can make ELL students feel safe and supported. This might include displaying diverse cultural artifacts and posters in the classroom, but it also involves things like, in my class, we had a carpet and the kids would gather there to read books, of course, but I also had a couch and they could gather there and they'd sit in my big comfy teacher chair. So creating a physical environment where they can do that oral interaction with their peers, not having them at their desks all the time. And I had special little chairs that they could use on the carpet, kind of like stadium seats, but not quite. And just all sorts of ways that you're going to change the environment and that facilitates these interactions and just really comfortable learning. Of course, cultural sensitivity is crucial. Educators should be aware of and respect students' backgrounds and incorporate the elements from their cultures into lessons wherever possible. This might mean incorporating traditional stories or holidays related to the cultures represented in your classroom. So for example, in my class, we taught Christmas around the world. Now, if I had a student that celebrated something else at Christmas, I might tag that alongside. Or if they celebrated Christmas but it looked very different than it does here, I would ensure that we always did about 4 different cultures just to give students an understanding of how it can be the same thing but look different. So I made intentionally choose to study their classroom, their culture as a part of that unit. Your social emotional learning or SEL instruction also helps students manage their emotions and develop empathy. Both the students who are ELL, but also the other students in the classroom, where they have the opportunity to develop that empathy, see the world from a different lens, and come alongside the student in a more positive and supportive way. So incorporating SEL activities like group discussions on feelings, first of all, is that oral language clue that I mentioned at the very beginning. So that's a great strategy to work on. And it also gives all students to share their feelings, and they may end up sharing, or not, but they may end up sharing feelings about learning a new language, the frustrations, the struggles, a little bit about their school back home, what they miss. It provides that opportunity for that student and all students to share more and to understand each other better. And this will help your ELL students to adjust and hopefully thrive socially. Of course, language support strategies are vital. Utilize visuals, gestures, and model language to aid comprehension. Having word banks and sentence starters can facilitate productive conversations among ELL students. And I know that also they can help with writing and other language arts areas. I'm just thinking of one ELL student who came into grade 2 essentially at a preschool level, but was able to draw her thoughts and pictures, was able to understand enough to understand the writing prompt, and then drew her story. So she was allowed to fully participate in that way. Interactive activities like role-playing or group projects encourage engagement and language practice. These activities will really develop collaboration and build communication skills between the different student groups, and give that oral language piece again that I mentioned earlier. Of course, vocabulary instruction should be explicitly taught, focusing on words essential for understanding the curriculum, and supporting them with visuals is also very helpful for students to be able to make the sound, hear the phonetics, and then understand the word, hear the word, and understand the meaning of it wherever possible. So, and also teaching the vocabulary in context using games or flashcards can enhance how the students retains and understands the information. And again, this all is going to be good for all your students anyways. Assessment differentiation is important and just in my personal understanding, but it also depends on your context and the expectations for reporting in your school or district. And this may involve altering assessments to reflect your students' needs, and offering multiple options like verbal assessments or portfolio reviews, in addition to what I mentioned in the product differentiation area. And these hopefully will give your ELL students an opportunity to accurately showcase their knowledge without the barrier of complex language. And again, completely get that's going to depend somewhat on your context. Finally, let's talk about cultural relevance. This means integrating students' backgrounds into the curriculum content. This might be achieved by including books, examples, and scenarios that reflect their lived experiences. In summary, consider differentiation, cultural sensitivity, and social emotional learning. Include language support, interactive activities, and explicit vocabulary instruction. Offer different options for assessment as your context allows. In truth, you are doing much of this in your classroom already, and there may just be a little bit of tweaking necessary to fully support your ELL student or students.